Someone says your name across the table. Their voice carries warmth you didn't ask for. That presentation, they say leaning forward slightly, was really excellent. You nailed it. And something happens in your chest. Not gratitude, not pleasure, something else entirely. A heat that begins at your collarbone and travels upward, spreading across your face like spilled wine. Your hands find something to do. You adjust your collar, you reach for your coffee. You look down at the grain of the table as if it contains answers you desperately need. The words come out before you can stop them. Oh, it wasn't that great. I stumbled through half of it. Or maybe I just got lucky with the timing. Or perhaps, if you're particularly skilled at this dance, you're too kind, really. Your voice sounds light, dismissive, as if you're waving away smoke. But underneath your body tells a different story. Your shoulders curve inward, your throat tightens. The compliment hangs in the air between you, like an object neither of you knows what to do with now. This is not modesty. This is something older, something written into your nervous system in a language you learned before you had words for it. This is the moment when kindness arrives at your door and you cannot open it. When someone extends their hand with a gift and yours, though open, somehow closes around nothing but air. You notice it everywhere once you start looking. The colleague who receives praise for her work and immediately lists everyone else who helped. The friend who deflects every compliment about his appearance with a joke about how little he paid for his clothes. The family member who cannot hear that they're loved without changing the subject to someone else's needs. Watch their faces when kindness arrives. Watch how quickly they move to make it disappear. A compliment at its simplest is just information. Someone has observed something about you and chosen to speak it aloud. They noticed care in your work, beauty in your presence, thought in your words. They are offering you a truth as they experience it. And yet for some, this simple exchange becomes a battlefield. The compliment transforms into an invader, a threat, a weight too heavy to hold. Why does a kind word feel dangerous? Why does being seen clearly create an urge to hide? Why, when someone says you matter, does a voice inside you rise up to argue, to correct, to insist on a darker truth? The struggle is not about politeness. It is not about staying humble in a world that celebrates ego. It is about something far more complicated. Something that lives in the space between who you believe you are and who the world keeps trying to tell you you might be. There is a house inside you. You have spent years building it, the foundation, the walls, the rooms where you live. And if that foundation is built on the belief that you are not enough, that you do not deserve softness, that recognition is either a mistake or a manipulation, then a compliment becomes something terrifying. It becomes someone standing at your door, insisting the house is built wrong, that the architecture of your self-perception needs renovation, and the instinct, the deep animal instinct, is to lock the door, to send the stranger away, to protect what feels familiar even if it hurts to live there. This is the paradox, the gift you cannot receive, the kindness that feels like danger, the moment when being told you are good becomes unbearable precisely because some part of you has decided you are not. But understanding begins here, in this moment of recognition, in naming the heat that rises in your chest, not as shame about pride, but as something else, a dissonance, a conflict between two truths that cannot both be right. There is a word people use when they see you push away praise. Humble. They say it with approval, as if your discomfort is a virtue. And perhaps in another context it could be humility. Real humility is a quiet knowing. It is the ability to see your gifts clearly while understanding they do not make you more valuable than anyone else. It is confidence without arrogance, presence without dominance. It is standing in your worth while leaving space for others to stand in theirs. But what you do when the compliment arrives is not that. It is something that wears humility's clothing but carries a different weight. When you deflect praise, you are not acknowledging your humanity. You are denying it. When you redirect attention away from yourself, you are not being modest. You are erasing yourself from the moment. There is a difference between saying, "Thank you, I worked hard on that," and saying, "Oh, it was nothing." One acknowledges effort. The other makes effort invisible. One accepts reality, the other argues with it. Watch what happens in your mind when someone speaks kindness toward you. Notice the speed of your response, how quickly the no arrives, how automatically the correction forms. You look beautiful today, and before the words have even settled, your mind is already building its case. The lighting is just flattering. You're wearing makeup. Anyone would look decent in this outfit. You didn't sleep well, actually. Your hair is a mess. The rebuttal comes so fast it feels like breathing. Instinct, reflex, protection. This is what psychologists might call cognitive dissonance, though that term feels too clinical for what actually happens. Dissonance is the discomfort your brain experiences when two beliefs collide. When someone tells you that you did well, and you believe deeply that you are not the kind of person who does things well, something has to give. The brain cannot hold both truths simultaneously. It must choose. And if the foundation of your self-concept is built on inadequacy, on the story that you are less than, then the compliment becomes the problem, not your belief. The compliment. It is the stranger bringing wrong information, the error that needs correcting, and so you correct it. You push it away. You restore the dissonance to consonance by making the outside world match your inside one. The compliment does not feel like a gift. It feels like a lie you are being asked to accept. Return to the house, the one you built inside yourself over years of small moments and repeated messages. Maybe it was built in a childhood where love came with conditions, where praise meant pressure, where being good meant you had to stay good forever or risk losing everything. Maybe it was built in classrooms where standing out meant becoming a target, or in families where attention felt dangerous, or in relationships where kindness was always a prelude to control. The architecture varies, but the result is the same. A structure held together by the belief that you are fundamentally not enough. And now, someone stands at your door with evidence to the contrary. They have seen something in you that contradicts the blueprint. They are saying the foundation might be wrong, that the walls you built to keep yourself safe are also keeping you small. And the instinct, the deep protective instinct, is to lock the door before they can come inside and start pointing out all the ways the house could be different. Because here is what your nervous system knows, even if your conscious mind does not. If you let the compliment in, if you truly receive it, you might have to rebuild. You might have to question every story you've told yourself about who you are and what you deserve. You might have to sit with the terrifying possibility that you have been wrong about yourself, that the harsh inner voice that has narrated your life has been lying, that the criticism you accepted as truth was just opinion, just old programming, just someone else's fear dressed up as fact and handed to you before you knew you could say no, so you keep the door closed. You wave away the kindness, you deflect, redirect, discount, and deny, not because you are humble, not because you are modest, but because accepting the gift would mean dismantling the very structure you have learned to call home. Even if that home is cold, even if it is too small for the person you are becoming, even if staying there hurts more than leaving ever could. The question is not whether you deserve the compliment. You do. The question is whether you can bear to believe it. Every response you have now was learned then, somewhere in the unremembered past, in moments too small to catalog but too significant to forget. You learned what compliments mean, not what they say, what they mean, what they cost, what they demand, what danger they signal. These lessons were not taught in words. They were taught in the tightening of a parent's jaw after praise, in the expectation that followed recognition, in the way love felt conditional on performance, in the silence that came after you shone too brightly. There are patterns, scripts written in childhood and adolescence that play out now in your adult body when someone says something kind. 4 common narratives, though yours may be a blend, a variation, something uniquely shaped by your specific history. But the theme is the same. Somewhere along the way you learned that compliments are not neutral, that kindness is not free. The first script is written in pressure. You were praised as a child, perhaps frequently. You're so smart. You're so talented. You're going to do great things. And each time those words landed, they came with an invisible anchor, an unspoken expectation. The compliment was not just observation. It was prophecy. It was contract. You are smart, therefore you must always get perfect grades. You are talented, therefore you cannot make mistakes. You are destined for greatness, therefore mediocrity is betrayal. The praise felt less like love and more like a bar being raised just out of reach. So you learn to read compliments as assignments, as debts you now owe. When someone says, "You're brilliant at this," what you hear is, "You must never fail at this again." The compliment becomes a cage built from expectation, and rejecting it, deflecting it, becomes a way to escape the obligation before it can take hold. If you never accept that you are good at something, you can never disappoint anyone by not being good enough. The refusal is not humility, it is self-preservation. It is saying no to a burden you did not ask to carry, but have carried for so long you forgot it was not yours to begin with. The second script is written in suspicion. You grew up in an environment where kindness had teeth, where compliments were the honey that disguised the trap. You're such a good kid, so responsible. I know I can count on you to take care of your siblings while I'm gone. Or perhaps you're so mature for your age. You can handle this, can't you? The praise was never just praise. It was manipulation dressed in warmth. It was the spoonful of sugar before the bitter medicine. You learned to hear the but before it was spoken. You learned to wait for the ask that always followed the acknowledgement. And now, decades later, when someone compliments you without apparent motive, your nervous system does not relax. It activates, it scans for the hidden agenda. What do they want? What will this cost me? The compliment cannot be received at face value because your history has taught you that nothing kind ever is. You have been trained to be a detective of ulterior motives, to look for the hook inside the gift, and so you push it away before you can be caught by whatever comes next. Your deflection is not modesty. It is a defensive maneuver learned from years of being cornered by false kindness. The third script is written in inadequacy. This one runs deeper. It is not about what compliments demand or what they hide. It is about what you believe in the quietest part of yourself, about who you are. You carry a conviction solid as stone that you are fundamentally not enough, that any success is accident, that any achievement is luck, that any moment of competence is a temporary illusion that will eventually be exposed. When someone compliments you, they are seeing a version of you that does not match the truth you know. They are being fooled. They have mistaken the mask for the face, and this creates a specific kind of panic. Because if they believe you are capable, good, worthy, then eventually they will expect that version to show up consistently. And you know with terrible certainty that you cannot deliver, that you are an imposter, that the real you, the inadequate you, will eventually be discovered. So when the compliment comes, you experience it as a ticking clock, a countdown to disappointment. Rejecting the compliment becomes a way to manage expectations, to lower the bar before the inevitable fall, to protect both of you from the pain of their eventual realization that they were wrong about you. Your deflection is not humility. It is damage control performed in advance of a disaster you believe is coming. The fourth script is written in isolation. You learned early and painfully that being noticed is dangerous. That standing out brings retaliation. Perhaps you excelled at something in school and became the target of jealousy, teasing, exclusion. Perhaps you had siblings who could not tolerate your success without punishing you for it. Perhaps your peer group had an unspoken rule that no one was allowed to be special, and breaking that rule meant losing belonging. You discovered that recognition and connection could not coexist, that you had to choose between being praised and being loved, so you learned to dim yourself, to hide your light not because you did not want to shine, but because shining cost you the warmth of others. The compliment, when it comes, now feels like a spotlight that will make you visible to those who might resent you for being seen. And the ancient math still runs in your blood. Attention equals abandonment. Recognition equals rejection. Safety lives in smallness. Your deflection is not humility. It is a survival strategy. It is choosing to stay hidden so you can stay connected. Even if it means no one, including yourself, ever sees who you really are. Watch yourself the next time it happens. The compliment arrives, and something in you moves before you can think. Your body already knows what to do. Your mouth already has the words prepared. These are not conscious choices. They are reflexes honed over years of practice. Defensive maneuvers performed so smoothly, you might mistake them for personality, for who you are, rather than what you learned to do to stay safe. The first maneuver looks like minimization, but functions as erasure. Someone says your work is impressive, and you hear yourself reply, "Oh, it's nothing really. Anyone could have done it." The words sound modest, self-effacing, but underneath them is a more precise message. This thing you are noticing is not worth noticing. Please stop looking at it. Please stop looking at me. You are not declining praise. You are actively working to make your effort invisible, to reduce hours of care and attention to nothing. Because if it is nothing, then the attention is misplaced. The spotlight can move. You can return to shadow. Your safety lies in being unremarkable, and this person is threatening that safety by insisting you are anything but. The second maneuver redirects light like a mirror angled away from your face. It wasn't just me, the whole team contributed. And perhaps this is true. Perhaps collaboration did happen, but notice how quickly you move the attention elsewhere, how efficiently you diffuse the focus across others until you disappear into the collective. The compliment was offered to you specifically, and you are working to make yourself non-specific, interchangeable, one part of a larger whole rather than someone who can be singled out and seen. Because being seen alone feels too vulnerable, too exposed. If you must be in the light, you need others standing there with you, blocking the direct glare. Your deflection is not generosity toward your teammates, it is using them as shields. The third maneuver attacks the object itself. Someone compliments your dress and you immediately devalue it. This old thing, I got it on sale. It's practically falling apart. You are not disagreeing with their taste. You are making the compliment logically impossible. If the dress is worthless, then noticing it is meaningless. You have removed the foundation underneath their observation, and in doing so, you have also removed yourself from the equation. You are no longer someone who chose something beautiful or wore it well. You are someone who happened to grab a cheap, forgettable item. The compliment collapses under the weight of your dismissal, and you are safe again in your smallness. Your deflection is not humility about material things. It is making yourself unworthy of being looked at through any lens, even the most superficial. The fourth maneuver questions reality itself. Really, are you sure? Your voice carries genuine confusion, as if the person speaking to you might be mistaken about their own perception, as if they need to double-check their assessment. What you are really saying is this: the thing you are telling me contradicts everything I believe about myself. I cannot integrate this information. Please either take it back or convince me harder, because I cannot simply accept it as true. You need external validation for the validation, proof that the proof is real. And even then, even if they insist, some part of you will remain unconvinced, will file their words under kind lies people tell rather than accurate observations about reality. Your questioning is not seeking clarity. It is expressing the impossibility of self-recognition. The gulf between who you believe you are and who they say they see is so vast that you literally cannot cross it without help, and sometimes not even then. The fifth maneuver is perhaps the smoothest, the most socially graceful. Someone compliments you, and you immediately compliment them back. You're so thoughtful. Well, you're amazing yourself. The exchange looks like mutual appreciation, like warmth being shared. But watch what just happened. The attention that was on you has been redirected. The moment has been equalized. The discomfort of receiving has been transformed into the familiar comfort of giving. You have taken the ball that was handed to you and immediately thrown it back, not because you don't genuinely think well of them, but because holding it, keeping it, letting it rest in your hands feels unbearable. The compliment cannot live with you for even a moment. It must be passed along, transformed into something you do rather than something you receive. Your counter-compliment is not connection, it is escape. It is restoring balance by making sure you never actually took in what was offered. 5 maneuvers. 5 ways of saying no without appearing to say no. 5 ways of protecting yourself from the terrible vulnerability of being seen clearly and told you are worthy of kindness. You have practiced these so long they feel like truth, like who you are. But they are not who you are. They are who you learned to be when being yourself felt too dangerous, when staying small felt safer than standing in your actual size, when disappearing felt like the only way to survive being visible. But what if you could learn differently? Not erase what you learned before, because that is written into your nervous system in ways that do not simply vanish with understanding. But what if you could write something new alongside it? A second script that runs parallel to the first. One that says slowly and with great patience that you are allowed to take up space, that being seen will not destroy you. That kindness, when it arrives, can be held without collapsing under its weight. This is not about forcing yourself to feel what you do not feel. It is not about pretending the discomfort does not exist, or shaming yourself for experiencing it. The heat that rises in your chest when someone praises you is real. The urge to deflect is real. The tightening in your throat is real. All of it is your body trying to protect you, using the only strategies it knows. What changes is not the initial response. What changes is what you do in the breath that follows. The next time someone offers you a compliment, try this. Do nothing, not yet. Before your mouth forms the automatic deflection, before your hands move to adjust something, before the familiar script begins to play, pause, just for one breath. Inhale slowly. Feel your lungs expand. Feel your feet on the ground. This single breath creates a space between stimulus and response, between what happens to you and what you choose to do about it. In that space, something new becomes possible. Not easy, not comfortable, but possible. And then in that space, you have created speak two words: thank you. Nothing more. No qualifier. No deflection. No redirection or minimization or counter-compliment. Just those two words and then silence. Let the silence exist. Let it be awkward if it needs to be awkward. Let the person who complimented you smile or nod or move on to another topic. Let your body experience the strangeness of not performing the usual dance. You will feel the discomfort, that pressure in your chest, that voice insisting you need to say something else, explain something, fix something. Do not fix it. Sit with it. Breathe through it. Notice that the discomfort, while intense, is not dangerous. That you can survive the feeling of being seen and acknowledged without immediately making yourself disappear. This is the beginning. This is how you teach your nervous system a new truth. Not through convincing yourself intellectually that you deserve kindness because the intellectual understanding rarely reaches the places that need it most, but through repeated experience, through showing your body again and again that receiving does not lead to harm. That you can hold a compliment for the length of a thank you and the world does not end. That the people who offer kindness do not expect you to carry impossible burdens in return. That being visible for a moment does not mean you will be attacked. At first, this practice feels performative, fake. You say thank you, but you do not mean it the way you imagine other people mean it. You are just holding the words in your mouth like stones. But meaning is not required yet. Action comes first. Behavior before belief. You are creating a new pattern in your neurology, and patterns form through repetition, not through feeling. Alongside this, begin to collect evidence. Not evidence of your worthiness, because that is still too large a concept to grasp when you are just learning to hold a single compliment, but evidence of accuracy. When someone says your cooking is delicious, do not argue. Instead, notice quietly what happened. People ate seconds. The plates came back empty. Someone asked for the recipe. Write this down. Not as proof that you are a good person or a talented chef, simply as data, as observable reality. You are learning to see what is actually there, rather than filtering everything through the belief that you are inadequate. You are training yourself to distinguish between the story your mind tells and the facts on the ground. This evidence accumulates slowly. A colleague compliments your presentation. You note that 3 people approached you afterward with follow-up questions. A friend says you look good. You note that you slept well last night, chose clothes you felt comfortable in, smiled when you saw yourself in the mirror. None of this is about convincing yourself you are extraordinary. It is about acknowledging the ordinary reality that you are not the disaster you believe yourself to be. That sometimes you do things well. That sometimes people notice and speak it aloud. That their noticing is not delusion or manipulation. It is just seeing. And then perhaps the most difficult practice, the one that happens when no one else is watching. Stand in front of a mirror. Look at your own face. Say something kind to yourself. Not grand, not exaggerated. Something small and true. I showed up today, even though it was hard. I listened to my friend when they needed me. I tried. Watch what happens in your body when you speak kindness toward yourself. Watch how quickly the rebuttal rises. How the voice that says, "but it wasn't enough," or "anyone would have done," that tries to erase what you just acknowledged. Do not argue with that voice. Just notice it. Notice that you can say something kind, and the critical voice can speak, and both can exist simultaneously. You do not have to choose between them yet. You are just practicing letting kindness exist in the same room as criticism, letting it have a voice, letting it take up space. None of this erases the years of learning that brought you here, but it begins to write something new, one breath at a time, one thank you at a time, one piece of evidence at a time. You are learning to receive what you have spent your life refusing, and that learning is slow, imperfect, often uncomfortable, but it is also the only path toward letting yourself be seen without disappearing, toward believing eventually that you are allowed to exist in your full size. There is a garden inside you. You have known it was there perhaps, but you have not visited it in a long time, or maybe you visit it only to catalog what is not growing, to note the places where nothing blooms, to reinforce the story that the soil is bad, that your hands cannot nurture life, that beauty is something that happens elsewhere to other people. You have spent years refusing the water that falls toward this garden, turning away the rain, building elaborate systems to divert every drop before it can reach the roots of what might grow there. A compliment is just rain. That is all it ever was. Not currency to be earned, not debt to be repaid, not manipulation to be suspected, not pressure to be feared, just water falling from the sky, someone noticing that you exist and choosing to speak that noticing aloud. And you, in your intricate defenses, have learned to hold an umbrella over your own garden while wondering why nothing grows. The work is not learning to believe you are perfect. It is not convincing yourself that you have no flaws, or that criticism is always wrong, or that you are somehow more deserving than anyone else. The work is much simpler and much harder. It is learning to believe that you are allowed to exist exactly as you are, that your existence itself, before any achievement or effort or performance, has value, that you do not need to earn the right to take up space in the world, that you were born deserving of kindness the same way you were born deserving of oxygen, not because you are special, because you are human, and humans, all of them, deserve to be treated with basic gentleness. This is the belief that breaks against your history, against everything you learned in those early years when love felt conditional, and attention felt dangerous, and recognition felt like a trap. You learned that you had to perform to be valued, that you had to shrink to be safe, that you had to constantly prove your worth or risk losing whatever fragile acceptance you had managed to secure. And now, even when no one is asking you to perform anymore, even when the people around you have changed and the circumstances have shifted, you are still performing, still shrinking, still trying to earn what you already have. But here is the truth that sits underneath all of it. The truth that waits patiently while you argue with every compliment and deflect every kindness and build walls between yourself and the simple fact of your own worthiness. You cannot make yourself undeserving. You can believe you are undeserving. You can feel undeserving. You can act as if you are undeserving, but you cannot make it true. Your value is not a story you tell, or a performance you give, or a verdict that gets decided by popular vote. It is a fact of your existence. You are alive. You are here. And that alone is enough to warrant gentleness. The people who compliment you are not seeing something false. They are seeing something you have trained yourself not to see. They are looking at you without the filter of your history, without the lens of your self-criticism, without the weight of every story you have told yourself about what you lack. They are seeing what is actually there. And when you deflect their observation, you are not protecting yourself from delusion. You are protecting yourself from reality, from the possibility that you might be in this moment exactly what they say you are: capable, beautiful, thoughtful, kind, worthy of being acknowledged. Learning to receive a compliment is learning to let reality in. It is opening the door you have kept locked. It is lowering the umbrella over your garden. It is standing in the rain of someone else's kindness and letting it touch your skin without immediately explaining it away. It is saying thank you and meaning, even if only for a second, I hear you. I will try to let this in. I will try to believe that what you see is real. This does not happen all at once. You will still deflect sometimes. You will still feel the heat rise in your chest and the automatic words form in your mouth. You will still carry all the history that taught you to protect yourself this way. But alongside that history, you are building something new, a small practice, a gentle insistence, a willingness to sit with discomfort long enough to discover that being seen will not destroy you, that you can hold a compliment for the length of 2 words and survive, that the garden inside you has been waiting all this time for permission to grow. And so the next time someone offers you kindness, try to see it for what it is. Not a test, not a trick, not a burden, just a human moment. Someone choosing to acknowledge something true about you. A small drop of water falling toward the garden you have been guarding so carefully. And maybe just this once you let it fall. You let it reach the soil. You let it touch the roots of something that has been trying to bloom in the dark. You say thank you and you mean it, even if only a little, even if only for now. Because you are worthy, not because you are flawless, not because you have earned it through suffering or achievement or perfect performance, but because you are here, because you exist, because the fact of your being in this world is, in itself, a reason for gentleness. And that truth, when you can finally hold it, is the most deserving thing of all.